to the saints. Today we are talking about success and happiness. Success might not mean that you're happy, and being happy might not mean that people would call you successful. If you can put the two together, then you're in a very strong and fortunate position. I wanted to speak to you about these two things because as I was growing in my journey, I was not taught that they were both important. And so today I would like to give you some arrows. I would like to point some arrows to the things that you should be focusing on if you would have both success and happiness. Firstly, I'd like to thank those of you who regularly support my work, especially as we've been under censorship from the Google Corporation, which owns YouTube. All of you men and women who are good people and upright, I would encourage you to vote with your feet and watch this on twitch.tv/Marquett Devon. I thank you for that vote of confidence and in sticking with me. Let's go ahead and look at a couple topics, because what I'm going to do is give you a broad overview of the topics you should study. There are many sources of knowledge. You may use me as one. You may use some of my educational materials, but I want to point you to the topics you should familiarize yourself so that you could more rapidly achieve success and happiness. I've already outlined these topics over my lifetime of experience, and there are two reasons that I'm going through this. Number one, because as I've been reorganizing my life due to censorship and financial sanctions that have been put upon me by certain groups, due to me supporting the people of Palestine, it's caused me to be very reflective. And I always go through Boss University. I also want to move Boss University on a school. And so as I'm uploading the many lessons, I have to organize them. And so I said I should, at least for those who may not have a significant income or may be very, very young, like 14, 15, 16, or are on the edge and not ready to invest in themselves, I could at least tell you what some of the topics are so you can dig into it yourself. So let's go ahead and take a look. Here we go. So let me see. I'm going to tell you the topics, and I also have them in a particular order for good reason. So here's the order that I have them in, and I'll explain to you the order. And as I go through, I'm also literally reorganizing them on school. The course is already on school. I just want the lessons in the proper order. And I order them in terms of importance and when you should focus on this particular thing. The good thing is you could skip around, but I think this is truly the best order, and I take out time to do so. So there's three sections, right? And so three broad categories that I've simplified it to. I had four categories initially, and I'll tell you why I modified it. The initial four categories were, as you can see here on the right side, I'm going to enlarge this for you just briefly. And those of you who have Boss University, I highly encourage you to continue reviewing it. It is such a well of knowledge. So minimize all those. Very good. So one, self-improvement. That's the first category. And this is focused on you, not the outside world, not your parents, not your girlfriend, not the economy. It's you. Self-improvement. That's section one. The second section, starting a business. Now, remember, a business is a system. It involves other people. You have to be able to manage yourself and those other people. Then we have mastering women. Only one lesson there. It's not very important. And I'll tell you why. Because you do well in section one, which is improving yourself, you'll be very good at managing people. A business is a system, generally a system of people, and of course with a layer of technology. And then we give you some specifics on dealing with women. But this is Boss University. It's not a pickup, course set. That would be Big Game Conference, everything you need to know about women. So just this one piece. And then self-care and sustainability, which is to say you've achieved, you've become successful, you've become what you wanted to become, you've gotten the money. But the question is, how did you arrive? Did you arrive sleepy and sleep deprived and hungry and overweight and malnourished? Like, what? Did you arrive with problems? Did your pursuit of success destroy you? Either you're underweight or overweight. You either can't get sleep because you're too keyed up and on caffeine, or you don't get enough sleep. How did you arrive, and how do you sustain for the marathon? Now, so those are the 4 broad categories that we had, and I reduced it to 3 broad categories of things that you must focus on. Not that you should focus on, that you must focus on if you would be successful and happy. By the way, as we go through, you can use the information below to send in your comments, your questions, your tithes, and tuition. So, starting from the top, self-improvement. The first section is called Understanding Your Human Happiness. Understanding your human happiness, not understanding human happiness itself, meaning in a general sense, but understanding the things that are common to all of us, but specifically how you as an individual find happiness. Mostly, truth is, we're all the same, but there are some things about us that are unique. And if you fail to understand the self, you will not have a happy life. There's some things that make you happy and they have no effect on other people. Like, for example, country music does nothing for me. Nothing. There are some people, they live and die by country music. So, as you guys know, I have a 3-sentence Bible. Be yourself, be good to yourself, be good to good people. Number 1, be yourself. If you don't know yourself, you can't be yourself. If you don't know what makes you happy, you've not written it down and made a study and a practice of it, you won't achieve it. Simple. You will not achieve it. Come on now. Second piece, body language and happiness. So you see, we're continuing on the happiness piece. Now, you guys might be sitting there like, Marquett, I'm trying to get this money. What does money have to do with happiness? I want the dollars. I need to be able to add it up. I need to be able to put it or find it in my bank account. So why are we talking about happiness? I can assure you, happiness is a fuel. You didn't know that. It's a fuel. It is gasoline, which is to say, what's the opposite of happiness? Perhaps depression, something like that. You're not productive when you're very unhappy. You might, depressed people, they sleep a lot. They don't get along well with others. They're not attractive. They're not appealing. You want to stay away from them. No one walks toward people with a frown. You avoid those people. Happiness is a fuel for you, and it is an attractive mechanism that brings people closer to you. And to achieve, you need people, places, positions. People, places, positions. Third piece, what is a loser? Marquett, I'm not trying to become a loser. I'm trying to become a winner. Great. You need to know what you're avoiding just as much as what you're going toward. What is a loser? In our society, we have a situation wherein mediocrity reigns. I think we almost need some positive eugenics, maybe even some negative eugenics, but mediocrity reigns. Everyone gets the first place prize, even when they're not in first place, which is to say, you might think that you're doing all right when you're really not doing well. You might think that the way you're living is okay when really you have low standards. So in understanding what a loser is, you might be able to look in the mirror and say, damn it, that's me. I got to make some changes. You'll never make the changes when you're too happy with yourself. You'll never make the changes when you think all is well. All is probably not well. This is not to say you should not acknowledge the things that you do well. You should not be happy with yourself. This is just to acknowledge that often we're surrounded by mediocrity and we don't acknowledge it. Mostly it's because we don't know it. We don't have anything to compare it against. Yes. Next piece, escaping a pattern or a rut. Well, Marquett, why is that so important? Just as important as getting on in this world, just as important as moving forward, and going at a high speed when all is well, when you're completely happy and satisfied and things are working out, just as important as doing that is understanding how to operate when the chips are down, when things are challenging, when you feel bad, when your health isn't right, when your girlfriend broke up with you, when you experience all of the bad things that are promised to you as a human being. Getting out of a rut, A, believing you can get out, B, knowing how to get out, and C, getting out quickly, that, my friends, is a skill. I promise you're going to experience ruts. But the question is, how do you deal with it? Do you do it gracefully? And can you get out quickly? You're going to fall in. It's just like when people say, hey, Marquett, I just experienced a breakup. How do I deal with this breakup? The first thing I tell them is, you're going to experience another breakup. In all likelihood, you're going to get your heart broken again. So let's get good at this. It's going to happen. Come on now. Everyone's experiencing challenges. You think that people who are wealthy or good looking or athletic are not experiencing challenges. They are. Some of them deal with it well. Some of them medicate. Some of them use illicit drugs. Some of them abuse themselves and others. The question is, how do you thrive in the tough times? That's a skill, and that will be a great determinant in your quality of life. Promise you. You should have a method for that. Let me take a pause for the cause. As we say within this thing of ours, show love to those who show love to you. So may I acknowledge the folks who are supporting the work. And also shout out to Andre, by the way. Andre's one of the folks who has taken a consultation with me, learned product-based business. You can learn through a consultation. You could take my course on how to create your own product with $500 or less. And he has a great product. You can get it at mdblabel.com. It's a chest bag. It's a high-quality luxury leather chest bag. He just sold one today. So I just want to congratulate him on that. He's making money. Also, shout out to Anthony. He writes, Peace of the Saints. Great topic, as always. Yeah, I try to do the things that matter. Evergreen content. May I acknowledge Johnny writes, Tuition. Shout out to Johnny. Now, also acknowledge Carter came in supporting the work via Venmo. Shout out to Emmanuel. Writes, Peace of the Saints. Appreciate you. Shout out to the real ones. Also, may I acknowledge Caleb. He writes, Tuition ready for the game. Let's work. Shout out to Heels In. Came in supporting the work. He's very consistent. Been with me a long time. I acknowledge Mr. Naeem. He writes, Peace of the Saints. I'm glad you opened Boss University up for this live. Definitely putting these lessons to use, especially that piece on etiquette. Oh, listen to me. The etiquette piece, and, it's so important to me because etiquette is one of those silent killers. When you don't have it, those who do have it can observe that this person's a bit unrefined. They're committing faux pas. They're embarrassing themselves. They don't even know it. And they're losing opportunities because there's certain experiences, like say I invite people to my home and I observe how they conduct themselves within my home. And based on that, I may not invite them back to my home. Hey, bro, you need to get a hotel. You can't stay at my house. You're not civil. Because as an adult, we mostly are not going to correct you. We're just going to let you do what you're doing, and we're going to adjust and react. What you guys have to acknowledge is most people are fake, and then other people don't even want to take out the time. They're not going to try to re-raise you. So etiquette is hugely important. It's the subtle things that indicate your level of sophistication, your background, your family, your upbringing, things that really matter. And when you observe people being thoughtless, it says something about them. It says something about the way they were raised. And I want you all to be able to convey that you are a person of worth. You're a person that's moving up, and you're a person that people can trust and rely on. And it comes through the subtle things. So yes, the etiquette chapter is hugely important. And I hope people take it seriously and are very thoughtful about it. Yes, and that's one of those things that myself, I had the good fortune of having a grandmother that was very old school and old world, and she taught me well. And in addition to that, I had a great hunger for learning etiquette, in as much as when I was a youngster, I had, through curious means, end up winning a speech contest. It was actually initially an essay contest, and then it turned into a speech contest. I won both, beat out everyone in California. And when I gave the speech, there was of course, quite a few people in the audience, but one in particular came up to me after the speech. It was an older, very wealthy white woman. And she said to my mother, she's like, is this your son? And my mom was like, yeah, this is my boy. And she says, you know what? Your son has a natural talent. And it would be my pleasure if you would allow me to give him one-on-one speech training. Your son has the natural ability to captivate an audience. And sure enough, she was true to her word, and she'd come, or actually I would get dropped off at her home, her personal home. And it was a beautiful home in a very ritzy part of town. She'd give me one-on-one speech lessons. And in that experience, I learned a lot of things, and you observe the very different ways that, say, for example, her and my mother would conduct themselves. And I figured out that class is a real thing. And we're not talking about the silly things, like when you have like dim-witted women will say, oh, you're classy because you're holding a wine glass. No, you're an alcoholic, actually. That's not classy. That's alcoholism. And I realized that there is a code of conduct that is largely socioeconomically based, and you should want to learn something about it. And I had a great hunger to advance. So it's a good thing. Anyways, shout out to the folks who know what is important. Shout out. May I also acknowledge, I got so many tabs and so many screens here. I'm just trying to decide which one I want to use for certain things. I think I'll use this one. May I also acknowledge Juan. He writes, peace of the Saints tuition to the big homie. Appreciate you. Also, again, shout out to Andre. I'm so proud of him. He's created a great product. He's put in work in terms of marketing. Calvin comes in via PayPal. He writes, peace of the Saints. Shout out to you again. I'm listening to the recent member exclusive live. Are your friends really friends? And I'm blown away by the value I'm receiving from it. And I'm only about 30 minutes in. Every single piece of content I consume of yours, I leave with a better mentality than I started with. And I often reflect, how can I provide a similar effect to the people I deal with in my familial relationships and business? I am impressed. I appreciate that, Calvin. That's a very high compliment, and I take that seriously. So I thank you for that. And most importantly, the greatest gift you guys give to me is to use the information to make yourself great and to honor the investment of time and capital that I put into you guys. So looking forward to seeing you highly successful. Shout out to, oh yeah, and by the way, if you remember, check that one out. That one was close to my heart. Are your friends really friends? When you understand what I'm speaking of in that live session, you'll be able to better organize your life for your own happiness. You'll also be able to remove bloodsuckers. You'll be able to be more efficient with your capital. Capital is not just money, it's time, it's energy, it's your spirit. So you're going to find it useful. Trust me. Shout out to Alejandro. He writes, thank you for all the knowledge, and thank you for your time. Peace of the Saints. I appreciate you. Shout out to Alejandro, very consistent. Shout out to Darren. He writes, peace of the Saints. Darren been rocking with me for years. I also acknowledge Rudolph. He writes, appreciate you always, sir. Thank you very much. And shout out to all the folks. I always feel like so, thankful to have you guys. Dominic comes and writes, peace of the Saints tuition. Shout out to Dominic. He also has some great products at mdblabel.com, some phenomenal velvet hats, of which I have probably 4 or 5 of them at this point. Super player pieces, you dig? Carrying on. I also acknowledge and shout out to the folks who support one another. I've created a great community here in the Sasson, and we have sections all over the world, and you guys buy each other's products. You go out to exercise together. You do businesses together. You live life together in the righteous way. No alcohol, no intoxicants. Shout out to Charles, just became a member at thesasson.com. That's THESASN.com. Let's get back to this work. Let's talk about it. So getting out of a rut. The most important thing is accepting that there will be more ruts. Then there's 3 keys to success. We're not going to go into that. If you have Boss University, of course, review it, check it out. Then you have morning routine. Morning routine is so freaking important, and I'll tell you why. Because if you can get your morning correct, the morning defines the whole day. It defines the whole day. And if you can do the morning almost with your brain off because it's been pre-planned, then you have a shot at being highly efficient and successful. Next lesson is entitled, Don't Allow Fear to Be Your God. Don't allow fear to be your God. Self-explanatory. Obviously, there's some specific strategies that we talk about in the course because fear is mostly what you're dealing with. It's a shapeshifter. It's very crippling. The next lesson is on, it is on building It's on how to avoid distraction, goal focus. Listen, this is the most important concept, especially in this day and age. I'm going to repeat that title for you. How to avoid distraction, goal focus, not goals with an S, goal. And then how to avoid distraction. You see, it's one thing that together is one effort, both avoiding one thing and pursuing one thing. When you choose to not do something, when you choose to do something, you are also choosing not to do something else. I repeat, when you choose to do something, you are also choosing not to do something else. You know, people will say, hey, Marquett, are you on Rumble? No. Marquett, are you on Twitter? No. Marquett, are you on TikTok? No. Marquett, I thought you were a social media influencer. Not really, I'm just a businessman. But I don't want to be influential on all of the platforms. It takes too much energy, too much time. The platforms are better suited for different things. TikTok is for dances and cute content, very female oriented, not very educational, short form. I need to be on platforms where you can speak at length, where you can elaborate on ideas, where you can explain, where you can educate people who are more sophisticated and seeking knowledge for. I am not a jester. So I know where I am supposed to be and also where I am not supposed to be. So again, I repeat, how to avoid distraction, goal focus. Just checking right here as I have it on school.com/Marquett to make sure the order is correct here as well. I'm just going to read some of the titles for you guys so you know what's included, what you should be studying. Don't allow fear to be your God. Building confidence, preparation, and self-belief. That's one title. Leveraging volunteers. That's another. Define your wealth goal sprint. That's another. How to avoid distraction, goal focus. So I'm making sure that one comes right after don't allow fear to be your God. Marquett, why is the order so critically important? Why is it important that the lesson on how to avoid distraction and be goal focused, why is it so critical that that lesson is right after don't allow fear to be your God? Well, I'll tell you why. If you're scared, can you effectively pursue a goal? Of course not. You can't even get started. You can't even think clearly when you're scared. You can't think clearly when you are in fear. And that is precisely why it's absolutely critical that you first stop fear from being your God before you could even consider pursuing a goal. Because, hey, check this out. If your goal is a real goal, meaningful, then it's going to be difficult. It's going to be scary. It's going to be intimidating because you have to do something new. You have to become someone new, someone better. So with that being the case, absolutely, you must stop fear from being your God before you can even make a move. And so now you've decided you're not fearful. So then you went ahead and defined your goal. And after defining your goal, after being able to be goal focused and avoid distraction, you have to make sure that that goal is clear. And the challenge with most people is that they don't know how to write up a proper goal. And I'll tell you something funny that you might not realize is that in most cases, most people don't have a goal. Like if you just went to your mother right now or your father, and you just walk into wherever they are right this moment, you say, hey, excuse me, Pop, would you be kind enough to share with me what is your goal in these 3 separate areas of life, health, wealth, relationships? What's your wealth goal, Dad? See what he says. You might catch him off guard. He won't have a specific goal. He doesn't know how to define it. He doesn't know how to pick an appropriate time period over which that goal should be accomplished, because most people are just going on autopilot. And I'll tell you something that's kind of surprising to you all, but I think you get a sense of this as you mature. Your parents were once babies, and they became toddlers, and they became adolescents, and then young adults, and then your parents. And Over that progression, some of them are no smarter than they were in the third grade, no more sophisticated, no more educated, no more capable, no more able. They just changed on the outside, but not the inside. Sometimes your parents don't know the answer. Sometimes your parents don't have enough experience. It's okay. That is life. For example, I remember distinctly at the moment I'd realized some of my elders, I won't name which ones, but I realized some of my elders, I was like, hey, and I was 8 years old. I realized, hey, I'm smarter than you are. I can understand and interpret the world better than you can. I can make wiser decisions. I remember when I was 11 years old and I was able to identify certain elders of mine who didn't have morals. I was like, like you can't tell that alcohol is bad? I can tell. How come you can't tell? I remember when I was in my late teens and I was interacting with my father and realized that there was a very limited number of things he could teach me that I wanted to learn. He could teach me how to be a plumber, for example, like how to fix a toilet or something like that. He could teach me how to sell narcotics unsuccessfully and end up in jail. But he couldn't teach me how to do any of the things I wanted to know how to do, which doesn't mean that he's not my father or not a person that I could respect. It just means that I had to acknowledge that there are limits. But here's the comedy. Your mother, your father, your grandmother, your grandfather, your uncles, your older siblings, hell, even your younger siblings, friends, strangers, despite them all having significant limitations in most areas of human activity, they still have an opinion and advice to give you in most areas of human activity. And that should concern you. You see, I was just on my under the Miranda earlier today talking to Jabri. And that's because my folks had come to do maintenance on my water system, which is the best. And I got the top of the line stuff. And I was explaining to Jabri, I was like, I stayed out there and asked them a whole bunch of questions and tried to understand as best I could, before I do some serious study. And I said, it is astounding how many areas of knowledge one could pursue. There's so much to know, so much that one could know. I said, that's why it's so beautiful to have a village, because the village has a lot of things that are needed, but you have all the villagers and they have different skills. But no one knows all of the knowledge. No one knows all of the skills. That's why I don't make courses on everything. I make courses on things that I know well. Master communicator. I am the best. I make courses on things I know well. Big game conference. All things you need to know about women. I make courses on business because I came from the mud. But you'll have people that give you advice on things that they don't know. And, unfortunately, that's the world we live in. So I say that to say this. Sometimes the people around you who love you will try to give you advice on things that they don't know about. And because you took unsolicited, often unpaid, non-expert advice, you're going to crash and burn, you see? And ironically, the sad thing is that you're crashing and burning because of what was done to you by someone that loves you. And that's just crazy when you really think about it. Like, damn, my mom did that to me. My dad did that to me. They teach you the wrong things. It's, that's the world that we live in. That's the truth of our world. You should respect your parents, but you don't have, if your dad is a plumber, he probably is not going to give good advice on which college to go to. Shout out to Issachar supporting the work, came in via Venmo. For those who don't know the Venmo, it's at Marquett Devon, Marquett Davon. And those of you who are watching on YouTube, I encourage you to watch on Twitch and subscribe if you haven't. Shout out to Clay. He writes, tuition, appreciate you. And the neat thing about Twitch, say, versus YouTube is that Twitch will actually send out the notifications. YouTube is certainly suppressing me and not sending out the notifications. So there you go. Carrying on. Now let's talk some more about these topics that you must study, you must make a study of to be successful. So once we get past don't allow fear to be your God, then it talks about define your wealth goal. It tells you how to define it specifically, what's the best method for that. Then it talks about how to avoid distraction and goal focus. And then we go into etiquette. And etiquette is a critical piece because, as I said, you need people, places, positions. When you go into certain places, there's an etiquette you should want to be aware so that you don't stand out in a bad way. And if you do stand out, you stand out above the others, the cream of the crop. When you lack etiquette, people can tell that you don't belong. And when you're moving up around better people, places, and higher positions, you're going to need the etiquette to match. Then you have bosses do not manage time. This is hugely important. I promise you that the way you think about time today is probably wrong. And it's radically different than the way I think about time. Perhaps the only thing that we agree on, maybe the only thing you and I agree on, is the obvious fact that we don't know how much time we do or don't have in the grand scheme. And we know that time is important. Those are the only two things we agree on. Everything else about time, we don't agree on. Give me 1 second. We have some mentally ill folks here. Give me one moment. There we go. Yes, nothing else do we agree on about time. So the fact of the matter is that you need to figure out time because your understanding of and how you utilize time is going to define if you're rich and young or rich and old. It's a beautiful thing to have a face that's wrinkle-free, to have no gray hairs, and then also be successful and well off. That's a beautiful thing. Some people don't find success till much later in life, and that means that they were not utilizing time to its best effect. Because remember, I came from the mud. I didn't start off like Donald Trump with $1 million loan. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So when you get a hold of time, you'll also understand that time is a form of wealth, and you'll understand how to better use it. Hugely important. I promise you're thinking about time in the exact wrong way. Then the next topic is leveraging volunteers. You should figure out how to do that. And again, I'm going to give you guys a reminder on all of the topics we have here. So again, and as I mentioned the topics, you have questions and things like that. Feel free to drop in your questions. I'd be happy to address it. Understanding your happiness. And I want to repeat this to you because I want you to kind of like, at least if you don't go through the course, at least know what you should study. And I want this to repeat in your mind. Understanding your human happiness, body language and happiness, meaning those things are connected. What is a loser so that you can avoid being one? Escaping a pattern and rut because you will end up in those things. Morning routine. You conquer the morning, you conquer the day. Etiquette. It's what allows people to see that you belong. Don't allow fear to be your God, which is to say, don't be scared. You can't win that way. Then we have define your wealth goal. We have how to avoid distraction, goal focus, building confidence, preparation, and self-belief. Then we have leveraging volunteers. We have visualization and mental preparation. This is a really important one. I'll get into that in a second. We have successful communication in the midst of conflict. We have training the mind, memorization. We have bosses don't manage time. Bosses don't manage time. You know, it's funny that I say that because that's in direct contradiction to how you're thought to engage time in the mainstream. In the mainstream, you're taught to manage time and to have your calendar and, and book this meeting and all of this nonsense. They'll have you running around and they'll have you ultra busy and basically you're not running the day is running you. Your calendar is packed with things, most don't matter, most of which don't add up to anything that you actually want. You'll be going through the motions. Huh? You ever experienced that before, going through the motions? What do I mean by going through the motions? There's so many people who are going through the motions. They think they're doing the correct activities to be successful, but they're literally wasting time. I remember when I was a youngster, I used to go to networking events because I thought that was going to help me be successful. And mostly I'd go to the networking events. I'd have my business cards. I'd give out my business cards. I'd take in a bunch of people's business cards. And then I would realize that no one's calling me back when I reach out to them and no one's using my business card. It was like a waste of the paper it's printed on. Why is that? Why is that? I thought networking is a good thing. Not quite. Not quite. Shout out to D Catalyst. He writes, Bitcoin tuition for the truth. Would you consider donations in the cryptocurrency Monero? Nah, bro, I'm not even that deep into crypto. I used to be into it like many years back. But nah, probably not get into it. I could list that one if that's something that you typically use. I could list it. Obviously, I have a wallet address for it, but I don't have any particular interest. I see you're deep into it, my boy. I see it's really your thing. But yeah, if that's really your thing and it's your preferred method, I could list it. I mean, it doesn't hurt. I do have a wallet, but no major interest in it. Anyways, let me acknowledge some of the folks supporting the work and thank you for supporting in whatever way people choose to. We try to make it easy. Mr. Naeem writes, fear definitely gets in my way. Oh, well, you're not the only one. That's called being a human being. So I respect you for acknowledging that. And most people, they find that they'll end up being crippled because of their failure to acknowledge it or to be self-aware. So that's wisdom on your part, and it's bravery. It's brave to acknowledge fear so that you can actually do something with it. He writes, specifically fear of getting to the next level, screwing up, and watching it all fall down around me. Well, here's the good news. Probably you are going to screw it up at some point and in some way. It's the people who never achieve anything that'll be the ones who emphasize that part, because they've never attempted anything. So they have a great fear of messing up things. It's really safe to be in the stands or to be in the bleachers at the boxing match as opposed to being in the ring. If you're in the ring, you could knock somebody out. You could also get knocked out. But there's also the pride and the beauty of competition and of having a chance and of being a contender and of being a champion. And the fun of life is to play the game and to play it hard. And I encourage you to look for the fun of it. And then life will be a different experience. And the only sadness that I have for myself and for you is that you find out late that you hear people say life is a game, but you don't know what they mean. You haven't felt what they mean when they say life is a game. I find life to be a beautiful game when you really think about it. For example, there's so many things that are fake and you don't even realize it's fake. You don't realize that it doesn't matter. For example, if you owe $10,000 to the mafia, you should be worried. They might catch you and break your legs. Really, they might. That's what they do. If you owe $10,000 to Visa, they're just going to bother you with phone calls, which means that it doesn't really matter. Turn off your phone. Boom, that problem has disappeared. Once you understand the world, it allows you to manage things differently. It gives you a certain freedom of mind and a level of relaxation. And one of the gems in my book, The Black Box, I recommend it to all of you, not because it makes much money. It doesn't, but because it's 10 years to write, and I wrote it for you. One of the things in The Black Box is it reminds you of the fact that all of you already contain all of the knowledge that you need and all of the experiences and the strength that you need to survive and to thrive, in fact. And you reference your black box, which is to say your storage of memories of things you've done that give an example that you're strong, that you're smart, that you can endure, that you're going to win. And you use those. Huh? Come on now. And in fact, it also reminds you that you can manufacture happiness. You can choose to be happy. Let's say you're in $10,000 of debt, or hey, let's say 10 million, 2 billion. What does it matter? You're in $2 billion of debt. But if you're at a social gathering and there's good music and it's all your friends around and you feel completely safe and you're around people that you respect and they admire you and you're dancing and there's beautiful women and you're well dressed, in that moment, what does it matter if you're in $10 trillion of debt? It matters not. It matters not at all. So understanding that you can choose happiness, you can manufacture happiness, you can use people, places, and positions to find and place yourself into happiness. Once you realize that so many things are a choice, you choose to be unhappy, you choose to be happy. But here's another thing with regards to the gentleman's question that he sent in. He says, I'm afraid that I'll make a mess of things. You might, but here's the good news. When you know yourself and you love yourself and you know how to manufacture happiness, if you were to make a mess of things, it's okay. I'll tell you one true story. Often when I hear people say, threats or say, hey, that's too risky or this or that. And I say, well, what's the worst that can happen? They'll say, well, you'll lose your shirt. You'll go broke. I was born broke. I've been there before. I know what that's about. That's not something I haven't experienced. I have an advantage. You see, maybe if I was born with a silver spoon in my mouth, that'd be like a paranoid, but I was born broke. What is that going to do to me? But here's the difference. When I was broke the first time, I was a child. I couldn't do anything about it. I was helpless. I was without knowledge and experience. If I went broke now, I have knowledge. I have psychological strength and endurance. I have all of the tools. I'd be fine. So it's something I've done before. I survived it before, and I have more tools now. So if I experienced it, it would be a much better experience. What is there to be scared of? And here's the other thing. American poverty is gentle. It's not poverty in Yemen. It's not poverty in Somalia. It's not poverty in Albania. I'm not in a Latvian slum. So I think I'll be fine. So if I make a mess of everything, guess what I'll do? I'll clean it up. Or not, or I'll just swim around in the mess and have fun. That's the key to life. And the moment you can figure that out, you'll be able to let go a bit. You'll see people, you'll be happy for them. You won't be jealous of them. You'll learn from them, and you'll stop being so uptight. Anyways, Mr. Naeem writes, that chapter on fear is definitely worth a revisit. Marquettism for the kids. Marquettism saves lives. Peace to the saints. Yes, indeed. Peace to the saints. And the funny thing about kids is that they start off without fear. They only get fear when they have some overbearing mother or some effeminate father. That's how they get fear. I was very blessed, you see. For example, my mother, a nervous wreck. She's a very fearful woman. My mother is scared of everything. It's funny because she has such a mouth on her, but she's scared of everything. And I remember when I wanted to learn to drive, and I asked my mother, and I was at the appropriate age, and she's like, oh no, we live in Los Angeles, so it's traffic and all this good stuff. She was like, no, you're too young. Why don't you wait till you're 16? It's not. All this nonsense. And my stepfather says, you want to drive? I say, yeah. He says, okay. Grabs the key. Like, let's go. Simple. And here's the funny thing. Who knows? Maybe he didn't care if we both got into a car accident and got out of there and went to go see Jesus and Tupac. Who knows? But you would just think that he didn't care. He didn't seem to care at all. He had no fear. Partly it's the difference between being a man and woman, testosterone and estrogen. But the fact of the matter is, if I had the unfortunate situation of being raised by my mother only, good Lord, I'd be a nervous wreck. I'd be paranoid. I'd be terrified. I'd be constantly questioning things like, what if? For example, if you are a member, you would have seen the sparring footage that I put up some time ago. Some of the saints that came down, we did some sparring, and we spar outside, right in front of Burton Plantation on the circle in front of the property, which has stone pavers on the ground. Very well laid, very flat. And some dweeb in the comments writes, oh, that's so dangerous. How could you do such a thing? That's so irresponsible. You should do it on the grass. Do it on the grass. Well, yeah, we could do that, except that on the grass, you have other challenges, and no one's throwing punches hard enough to knock anyone over. And also, I am great at this. I've been doing this for enough years, and we're doing this in a controlled fashion. You see, if it was up to an effeminate male like that, we wouldn't be boxing at all. Oh my God, somebody might get hurt. You might get a bloody lip. Oh my God. Or if it were up to a woman, we wouldn't be boxing at all, right? We'd just be passive aggressive constantly. But we never box. We just say things behind each other's back as a sport. So I say that to say, the cowards, they never do anything. They just stand on the sidelines doing evil, discouraging people from achieving their dreams. Cowards hate when you achieve your dreams and they don't achieve theirs, and they never will. Shout out to the ballers. Shout out to Joshua with the baller alert. First baller in the building. He writes, I fired a property manager recently. Congratulations. He tried to automate important social tasks with AI. I caught this early by using anonymous surveys that notifies me when guest satisfaction goes down. Oh, I see. He didn't have the human touch. AI is different. I agree. He writes, having a great business system is essential to scale. Peace of the saints. Oh, I agree. And there's some things that are not supposed to be efficient, right? One of the things that I often tell people, they ask me about dating apps. I'm like, yeah, dating apps are efficient for getting laid, but they're inefficient for finding love. Finding love in a real relationship, that's a clunky process with missteps and misconnections and uncertainty and inefficiency and serendipity. Tinder is to get your genitals wet. You hear me? But it's not a good way of actually finding love. It's too efficient. It's the slores love Tinder because they can get them some pipe, speedy pipe. Dun, 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 Captain Speedy Pipe, please come here. I need you. So there's some things that require human touch. They require a live person. And I commend you, and all of the business guys know this, is there's nothing more beautiful than removing a poison or a virus from a system. Because when you work with people, those are the people you're spending life with, especially if you're in a full-time environment in an office situation. And more importantly, you have to hire cautiously and fire quickly. You got to fire quickly. When you realize they're not the one, get them out of there. And that goes for business, and that goes for your personal relationships. And the best among us, the most developed men, can get that done. And you don't have to feel any kind of way about that. And there's a young man I was talking to earlier this morning. He took a consultation with me. If you'd like to book one for yourself, you can do so at thesasson.com, THESASN.com. Bottom left corner, click schedule consultation. So check this out. He booked a consultation with me, and we were talking about some romantic items. And he said, hey, I have this young lady that I'm dealing with. She's from this particular country. This has been my experience with her. And I said, I'm really happy that you brought this up to me, because I'm certain that you know the correct answer, but because you're a very young man, you don't feel confident in reacting appropriately. So you want me to give you certainty, and I will do that. Your instinct is correct, and you should take rapid action. And he says, well, I know you've done this a lot, but I feel like a little bit like anxious or nervous. Or I said, oh, well, that's cool, and that's human. But you're going to have to go through this process a couple of times. And what you should never do is die in the mind. Die out there in the world, right? Like, be challenged in the world, but don't challenge yourself in here. The reason that you feel anxious about it is because you're imagining all of the different problems that could occur in your head. But here's the kicker. Those problems have not occurred. Many of them won't occur. The funny thing is, you might say, well, Marquett, if I have to kick this girl to the side because she's a gold digger, because she's no good, then, well, what if she feels bad? What if she gets mad? What if she does this? What if she does that? Now, here's the kicker. Say he breaks up with her shorty, like, I got 2 other guys anyways, and doesn't think about you a second time. Come on. Boy writes, your fake mental scenarios rarely become true. Absolutely, 100%. That's why I say don't die in the mind. Don't die in your thoughts. You see, sometimes you think that you are your thoughts. You think that you are your mind. Incorrect. You use your mind. You need to control your thoughts. And especially as a man, you need to know that much of life is holding it in. It's holding it in. It's controlling. We've been told that you need to express everything and that you need to be, no, maybe a woman has all those emotions, but you're a man. You probably have a grand total of 4 emotions. Unless you're mentally ill, and if you are, get some help. Get some help, please. Get some help. But shout out to Michael, came in via Venmo, writes tuition. I know some of you guys are sitting there like, Marquett, what are the 4 emotions I should have? Shout out to Mark. He writes, paying what I owe, peace of the saints. Shout out to the real ones. Show love to those who show love to you. And when I say you only have 4 emotions, maybe you have happy, horny, mad, hungry. Maybe lazy. Can we throw lazy in there? That's about it. That's it. You don't have any other emotions if you're a real man. And mad is the one that you often use to mask deeper things, right? Mad it's really not a real emotion most of the time. When you display anger or feel anger, really underneath that is disappointment, it's embarrassment, it's, insecurity, it's all these other things. So anger is kind of the catch-all expression for other things. And that's what occurs when you do not know and understand yourself. That's why I have the 3-sentence Bible, 3-sentence Quran, 3-sentence Torah. Be yourself, be good to yourself, be good to good people. And these lessons that I'm going through, I tell you, they'll give you so much peace and so much solace and so much understanding that no other place will give you. Not your parents, not your religious texts. I'm sorry, they won't. Sorry. And as we go through, you'll be like, Marquett, that's a good point. Like, for example, if you look there's a section called starting a business. Where in your good book does it tell you how to start a business? It doesn't. So that's my point. That's my whole point here, ladies and saints. Anyways, bosses do not manage time. Then after that, there's a section called leveraging volunteers. This is really important. Leveraging Marquett volunteers. I almost want to go through this section right now because it's such an important section. And this is one that it's really important for you as an individual human being as you operate your private affairs, but it also kind of leads you and creates the foundation for entrepreneurship. Now, here's the kicker. Not all of you are going to become entrepreneurs, but still it is the foundation for entrepreneurship because it teaches you how to think and how to organize people. People are a huge resource. And guess what? We all have people around us and they're underutilized. Absolutely promise you. They're underutilized. Huh? What do they say? Ask and it shall be given unto you. Well, the problem is most times you guys don't ask. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to reorder that leveraging volunteers piece. I'm going to put that section right before the start of the starting a business section, because I want people to be aware that those things are so intimately connected. Excuse me. I want people to be very aware, because when you start your business, you don't have a lot of capital. Now, do you? Huh? Let's talk about it. And feel free to send in your comments, questions using the information below. I do believe in the both in the description of the video or on the main page. You can see different ways you can support. You can use PayPal, you can use Venmo, you can use Stripe, which is like a regular link to make a donation like you would purchase anything else. You can also use the Bitcoin address as well. Those are different ways that you can support the work. And I always say, show love to those who show love to you. So we have leveraging volunteers. Let me make sure that, okay, I'm considering reordering that piece. And then after leveraging volunteers, there's a lesson called managing low quality persons, importance of high value friends. Hello. Marquett, are you telling me that everyone's not created equal? Everyone's not equally important? Yeah, that's pretty much what I'm saying. I'm saying that equality is a lie, ladies and saints. I'm saying equality has never actually existed, ladies and saints. I'm saying that you've been told about that because it's a cute thing to tell kids, kind of like Santa Claus. That's you grow up on lies. In other words, you've been raised on lies. Shout to Charlie, came in via Venmo, writes, tuition, I appreciate you. Shout to the real ones. Yes, you've been raised on lies. Next lesson is visualization and mental preparation. This is another one of the lessons that you need to understand that for me, it goes in direct contradiction to what you hear on the internet. You'll see a lot of free lectures and content, mostly by babblers and sophists. And what they'll do is they'll lie, of course. I don't even know that they know that they're lying, but one of the common lies they'll give you is they'll say like, oh, okay, you just have to visualize it. It's the law of attraction. Just attract it. If you can see it, you can believe it. See it in your mind. Imagine yourself. You're the king of your castle. It's a castle. You're the king of it. Just imagine. Nah, that's not going to get you in the castle as it turns out. No, honestly, as it turns out, you actually have to do some work. So are you visualizing the correct things? Maybe not. Is the law of attraction going to attract a Bugatti to you? I don't get the feeling that it is. I don't get the feeling. Visualization and mental preparation. Visualization and mental preparation. Wow. I don't think they ever talk about mental preparation. What's that? What's mental preparation? I don't know if I know about mental preparation. Anyways, remember guys, bosses do not manage time. I'm trying to brainwash you guys if you don't realize. I'm trying to brainwash you into greater thinking. Bosses don't manage time. Manage low quality persons. Know the importance of high value friends. Use visualization and mental preparation. And if you don't know what mental preparation is or what you should be prepared on, find out. Huh? Next one. Using discipline and spirit to win. Those things are quite different. You need both. Discipline. I'm well known for my discipline. It has gotten me far. I can do repetitive tasks without becoming bored. That's an important thing. I don't know if that's a brain thing. I tend to think that's a upbringing thing, honestly, because I was raised in a low stimuli environment, meaning that I was a child without toys. I had an empty bedroom. I didn't have a whole bunch of stuff in it. I had to use my mind. I had to think. I had to use imagination. None of my problems were solved with money. They were solved in here. So I had to use my head. I didn't get, video. I didn't even play video games growing up. That's why I don't play them as an adult. It's very easy not to be a video gamer. I never did it. I never got started. So I've dealt with low stimuli environments, which in other words means I know how to focus. I can focus. Most people can't focus. Most people cannot endure boredom. Marquett, what do you mean? I mean, some of the most important things you have to do are boring. They're called studying, for example. Sometimes you have to study for things. Yes, you have to study to figure some things out, and it's not interesting. And if it's challenging, it's even less interesting because it's challenging. Discipline will get you through. I'll tell you a true story about today. I always tell you guys, hey, master the morning. If you can get the morning done, you're going to win. Well, this morning I had 2 meetings straight away. First thing, very early, back to back. I came out of those meetings. It kind of interrupted my typical order of the day. And then from those 2 meetings, which were very rigorous, fry you up mentally, then I wanted to go exercise and I didn't feel the usual umph. I kid you not. I just went, and you guys know I have a bunch of acres. So I just went out among the hay bales and walked and stretched and laid down and rolled around and ran a bit and stopped running until I could get myself to do it. Because I didn't feel like it. It occurs every now and then. It's very rare. But I didn't feel like it. And I said, I'm not going inside until I do it, whether I feel like it or not. That's discipline. That's discipline. It requires force sometimes. You have to force the self. And that's an important concept, forcing the self, because sometimes, again, I'm going to remind you that you think that the self is the mind and it is the thoughts. Somehow the self manages to be something different than the mind and the thoughts. Yes, it's something different. You're supposed to control the mind, which means you are not the mind. You are the controller of the mind. You are not the thoughts. You need to control and manage the thoughts. Yes. It took me 3 hours to complete my exercise, and the first 2 hours wasn't even exercising. It was just trying to get myself to start. It happens every now and then. But the discipline, where does the discipline come in? The discipline came in that I would not do anything else until I accomplished that. The discipline came in the fact that I was locked in. Shout out to Eduardo. He writes, hey, Marquett, how do you become friends with high value people to keep them as friends? That's a very good question. One, just starting with women, because men and women are different, and the way we form intergender relationships is very different. I do have a video for the members. I recommend that you reference it. It's called How to Meet Wealthy Women. Something like this is the title. That's a great place to start. So not to suggest that high value only comes in dollars, but it's often measured in dollars. It's an easy way to measure. Easy way to measure. Now, not all high net worth people are truly valuable or civilized. They're not a contribution to humanity, all of them. But I bet my bottom dollar that if you find 100 poor people and 100 wealthy people, the wealthy people are probably higher quality. Which is to say, it's worth using people, places, positions to put yourself where you would like to be. As you ask, how do I build relationships and keep them? So with women, so intergender, man to woman, there are a variety of touch points that can open up the conversation and start the relationship. And there are a number of touch points that can maintain it. Literally just checking on them is a thing, right? You're like, hey, I'm just checking on you, seeing how you're doing. Everyone appreciates that. But at the start of a relationship, you can call up a woman that you are dealing with platonically. Older woman, generally they're going to be the ones that have more value, right? More network, more connections, things like that. And they know that it's platonic. You can just call her up. Oh, hey, how are you doing? I just want to check on you, see how things are going. And they'll just start talking. And that consistency builds a meaningful bond, and it builds trust, and they'll introduce you and they'll bring you around and they'll favor you. With men, on the other hand, if you reach out, hey man, and you just met a guy, hey, I just want to see how you're doing. He'll kind of be like, bro, what? What are you talking about? Which is to say that the way you build bonds with other grown men, even whether they're younger, your age, or older, the best way with men that you do not know and are not familiar with is to either offer them a meaningful service that they need, do something for them, do them a favor, or collaborate with them. You have mutual, clear business interests with clear benefits to both sides. That is the magic. You build together. Men build together. We rarely call each other up just to have a conversation. It's so much easier to call up a man when you're about to discuss something specific with a discrete outcome, a way to win, in other words. Huh? Come on now. A way to win. Because men are outcome focused. So, using discipline and spirit to win. Discipline may just be going through the motions. It may just merely be going through the motions. Spirit is the spirit in which you do things. It is the feelings you select to have and the ones that you convey as you engage. Very important. It's the icing on the cake. It's the sizzle on the steak. Huh? And again, shout out to one of the saints. I see that your deposit of Bitcoin came through. Appreciate you. Much respect due. And for those of you who may still be on the plantation, on the slave house of YouTube, having your freedom of speech taken away, I compel you again. Go ahead and hop onto Twitch. I compel you. If you're not on Twitch, go ahead and hop on. General writes, are Twitch subs something you care about? Can be a great source of income here. You know, I am not monetized on Twitch, so I'm doing this for the love. I'm doing this to support you guys. So I'm not monetized on Twitch. But, you know, perhaps when I am monetized, it'll, as you said, be a source of support. So I don't think as of now you guys are able to get subs on Twitch. If that's the case, somebody let me know. Somebody let me know. As you guys know, as of recent, I've been doing a lot of studying and a lot of new things. And I'll let you guys in on a secret. One of my least favorite things, true story, my personality, like my wiring, my least favorite thing is to do new things. Kid you not. I know it sounds surprising, but that's the truth. Would you believe that I am so freaking consistent that I eat the same thing every day for breakfast almost every day? So like, and I don't care. Like, it doesn't matter if it's good or bad. Like, it's fine. It's food. Who cares? Same thing for breakfast. Very, very consistent. I don't need change. I don't like change. I like to refine processes. I like predictable processes, and I want to refine them to perfection. I don't need constant change and variety. It's not my personality. I'm not by nature the bleeding edge person. I'm not an early adopter. It's not my personality. I don't adopt new technology by instinct. I do it because it's good business. I do it because I was in the software business. And because we were on mobile and we were native on mobile, I figured out that if a new iOS is coming out or a new device is coming out, we need to buy the device. We need to download the iOS and start testing so that we can release on it and the end user is not experiencing bugs. So I got wired to try to be ahead of the curve so that I can maintain profitability in a good functioning technology. And I've taken that because it's useful, but it is not my nature. It is not my personality. And it expends a lot of energy, a lot of capital. As I say, there are many capitals: energy, emotion, money, relationships, a lot of capital, spiritual, a lot of capital. So I say that to say this. You have to be thoughtful about how, when, and why you use your capital. And knowing that YouTube is eventually going to kill itself. When you take too much truth off of the platform, you take all of the people who are interesting to listen to, you take away all of the real educators. When you take away the truth, so YouTube is going to eventually destroy itself. So I'm going to get off of this ship. It's sinking. And to get back onto the next ship, what's the right ship? Well, I have to do a lot of reading. I have to try new things, which all are outside of my inclination, but I'll be here doing it. And that's what I've been investing in the last 2 weeks. And that, again, Boss University, it teaches you this is what must be done. There's a lesson called getting out of a rut. This is where we're at. Let's get out. Let's get out and have grace and spirit while you do it. Shout out to Jamshi. He writes, "You ain't lying. We used to always hit the same Hawaiian burger joint. I used to think, bro really likes these burgers." Shout out to my boy. We went to college together. Shout out to my mans. Yes, indeed. Listen, man, if it works, or shall we say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But, incrementally improve. Shout out to Matthew. He writes, "Peace to the saints. I respect your leadership because of your ruthlessness, discipline, and optimism. Stay dangerous." I appreciate that. Shout out to Matthew. Shout out to Sass in Bay Area. In our private Discord, which we have for the members, I was just peeping these guys recently. And also shout out to Aaron. I understand that Aaron has a new product that he's going to go live with, and look forward to supporting him. And I support all of you guys. I want to see all of you guys win big, and most importantly, be happy, have big, happy families, all the rest of it. Anyways, next, training the mind, memorization, and discipline. Now, notice we talked about discipline 2 times in a row, ladies and saints. But there are 2 different types of discipline. There's all kinds of discipline. There's discipline of the mind. There's discipline of the body. Within discipline of the body, there's different types of discipline of the body. There is sexual discipline. Yes, manage your penis, manage it. There's discipline of being exercised. Making sure you get your 30 minutes of sweat. Exercise is prayer. Sweat is the holy water. There's various disciplines. I have 2 separate lessons consecutively talking about discipline. Gee, Marquett, it must be important. Must be important. Yes, ladies and saints, it is important. It absolutely is. And again, let me remind you what the topics are that you guys should be studying. So, using discipline and spirit to win. That's what we're just talking about. You need to have both. Using discipline and spirit to win. Make a study of that. Make a study of discipline. Make a study and a practice of discipline and spirit. And then training the mind. Memorization and discipline. Oh, Marquette, memorization is important. What do you need to memorize? Why do you need to memorize things? Figure that out. It's important. I'm giving you all the high level things. And so obviously Boss University is a course that is many hours. And so I'm just giving you the high level overview of what the topics are. So if you would like to make a study of these topics, you can go and try to find truth somewhere. Because I think that these are the things that can, define if you're running fast in the wrong direction or running fast in the correct direction. Let's carry on. More topics that you should study to be successful and happy. Next one. Building confidence through preparation and self-testing. Oh, are you telling me that people aren't born with confidence? Are you telling me, Marquette, that a guy's not confident just because he's 6'5"? He's not immediately confident, Marquette? Are you telling me that a woman is not confident just because she's gorgeous? Marquette, I would have never thought such a thing. I thought these people they're just confident just because. Yeah, no, actually, that's not the case. You need to leverage certain techniques to feel and display confidence. This is an overview, and Boss University talks about all the things you need to be a boss. You want to dig into confidence, particularly with regards to communication. I recommend in that case, you would go into the Master Communicator course because it talks all about communication. Boss University is all things needed to be a boss, give you a taste of all these many, many things. There you go. In Dark Horse, he writes, why did YouTube demonetize the saint? Well, we know why, but the real question is, why are you not on Twitch? That's the real question right there. You know, we can say all we want about how much we don't agree with the platform or we don't like it, but if we're not making efforts to, incrementally improve, move in the right direction, then we too are guilty, for we are holding up this great evil, and we are supporting the evil at a level. And so right now we're trying to put together the Exodus. Shout out to Wayne, writes, Peace of the Saints, tuition. I appreciate you. He came back. He writes, thank you for taking out the time to teach us life lessons. It is truly a pleasure. And I see the benefit of it. So many of you guys, I see you make huge advances in your life. For example, there's one particular saint. First time I saw him at the drip trip, he was overweight. Then he came back to the next drip trip after hanging out with the saints because he's a part of a section. He's a member. And so they exercise on a regular basis together. Man shedded so many pounds. He looks great. And I also saw a huge boost in his confidence. And it wasn't just like me looking and seeing it. It was because I saw bro talk to every girl in sight. And that's a beautiful thing. When you're a young man, enjoy these kinds of things. That's what you should do. Like, don't miss out on your youth being overweight and shy and scared. That's a total waste of the beauty of youth. You hear me? You'll never be young again. It's a one-time experience. Maximize. Huh? Anyways, again, building confidence through preparation and self-testing. That lesson comes after training the mind. Wow, Marquett, are you saying that you train the mind and the things that are inside of your mind, inside of your spirit, inside of your heart, then they come out, they become visible. There's a manifestation of it. Wow, that's deep. That's deep. Yes, indeed, it is deep. Next lesson. Failure and forgiveness, a necessary part of success. Now, Marquette, that's very ironic that a lesson called failure and forgiveness comes after a lesson called building confidence. Why is that? Why is that, Marquette? I'm troubled. Well, the reason that failure and forgiveness, and we're talking about forgiving the self, not forgiving all these random people who have done you dirty, forgiving the self. The reason that failure and forgiveness, which is saying the ability and willingness to fail, and then the ability and willingness to forgive yourself, which is to say it's okay, this is a part of life. Well, that's really important because you need confidence to fail. Yeah, I know it sounds strange. You need confidence, not incompetence, but confidence to fail. That's so important. Let me say that one more time, if you don't mind. You need confidence to fail, not incompetence. Sometimes people may fail because they're incompetent. It may happen. But when you're striving for big goals, you may fail because you were willing to try something huge. You were trying to win big, and you failed. And you be confident even to try something like that. It wasn't incompetence. It was confidence that allowed you to swing for the fences, to go for the home run. And that's a beautiful thing. And those are the things that color life. I mean, those are the things that create good stories. Not every great story ends with, yeah, and I won. No, sometimes a great story ends up with, yeah, man, I got a black eye and, X, Y, and Z. It happens. It's still a good story. It's still funny. Come on now. Yes, indeed. Failure and forgiveness, a necessary part of success. Now, really quickly, I just want to highlight some lessons that if you have Boss University, I really want you to review seriously, because all of these, I only put the most important lessons in Boss University, but even of these important lessons, there's some that are extraordinarily important. There's some that will absolutely define your quality of life. So I'm going to repeat one. It's called Don't allow fear to be your God. Yes. And the neat thing, ladies and saints, is there's a video lecture you can listen to. Then there's the text below it. And then there's a daily mantra, a question that you absolutely should ask yourself. Don't allow fear to be your God. Hugely important lesson. In the order of things, I have that one coming after your morning routine. Very early on in the lesson, in the course. So I want to highlight that one for you guys who have Boss University. I really want you to study that, and I want you to go through it once. I want you to go through it twice and go through it a fourth time and do it on a regular basis, because there's some problems that you never solve. There's some things you can solve. Like, for example, if you have anxiety approaching women, you get the big game conference, you review it on a regular basis, and you can do it. You can approach women left and right and be successful. You can get over fear of approaching women. You can get over that. There are people within the SAS, and shout to Dan Lee. Bro approached 5 women at once without thinking twice. You can get over approach anxiety. But there are some things that you'll never get over completely, and it'll be an ongoing struggle, and you just have to be able to fight the good fight on a consistent basis. And these are the lessons that I'm highlighting, because these are challenges that we all are going to experience on a consistent basis. And I want you to be able to win at the fight every time. It'll be a new fight, but I want you to be able to win at the fight. There's another lesson. It's called defining your wealth goal. Define your wealth goal. And you might say, Marquett, that sounds so simple. Why is that one of the ones I need to review? Well, the reason that you need to review that is because the goal is the outcome. It's what allows you to set your GPS. It's what makes everything that you're doing have meaning. And if you don't define that goal, where are you going? Well, you're going nowhere. You could be going nowhere fast. You could be going nowhere slowly. But what's certain is that you're going nowhere. So absolutely, you should define your wealth goal. And you should also redefine your wealth goal. So I'm going to say that again. Define your wealth goal. You need to review it on a regular basis. Which means, in other words, that you should review your goals on a regular basis. Once you define your wealth goal, then the second one behind that is how to avoid distraction, goal focus. Yes, I'm telling you that one of the hardest things to do is to stay focused. And here's the funny thing. That's where I beat most people. I beat most people not because I'm significantly smarter than them. In many cases, it's true. But for the people who are smarter than me, I'm more focused than they are. It's not that I have a better brain. It's that I make a better use of my brain. I don't ever turn it off. I keep it going, and I keep it hyper focused on the one thing that matters. Figure out what matters. Double down on that thing that actually matters. There's a lot of things that don't matter. There are a lot of things you're wasting energy, time, and emotion on that don't matter. There's another lesson that I moved into this section. It's called successful communication in the midst of conflict. Life is challenge mixed with success. If you cannot deal with the challenge, well, you're going to struggle, because if you think every challenge that befalls you is unique to you, if you think it doesn't rain on everyone, it's just raining on you, then you're not going to react appropriately. You're going to be pouty, and woe is me is going to be your mindset. That's all wrong. That's all wrong. So I'm going to review with you the list of topics that you guys, the whole list in this section of self-improvement that you should study. I'm going to review it with you twice. I'm going to review it with you in 2 different orders. There's only going to be a slight difference in the orders. And I just want you guys to really soak this up. I want you to remember the things that are important to make a study of. And I just want you guys to know, I care enough to share with you where you should look for this knowledge. For those of you who have Boss University, you have the knowledge. go back through. Like, this is the greatest course because it's so valuable for your whole life. That's awesome. I've taken courses in university that cost me thousands of dollars that I can't remember what I studied. And even when I was studying it, I knew it wasn't going to be important. And it turns out I was right. But anyways, understanding your human happiness, body language and happiness. What is a loser? Getting out of a rut. 3 keys to success. Morning routine. Don't allow fear to be your God. How to avoid distraction. Goal focus. Define what your wealth goal is. Etiquette. Bosses do not manage time. Leveraging volunteers. Managing low quality persons. Importance of high value friends. Visualization and mental preparation. Using discipline and spirit to win. Training the mind, memorization and discipline. Building confidence through preparation and self-testing. Failure and forgiveness, a necessary part of success. Money and happiness. Money and happiness. Money and happiness. Money and happiness. That's a lesson I haven't reviewed myself very recently. I'm just going to, if you guys don't mind, I'm just going to take a quick peek at it and see what it's saying. Oh, I'm not even signed in right now. It won't even show me. Isn't that a pity? That hurts my heart. Actually, I'm very curious. Let me acknowledge some of the folks. By the way, send in your comments, questions right now, because I actually want to go through that lesson, and I'm not signed in. So I'm going to answer your questions now, and I'm going to go through that lesson because I'm curious. It's one of the ones I haven't reviewed in a long time, and I'm very curious. So let me encourage you to send in your comments, questions, tithes, tuition now, because I'm going to get off soon because I want to study that lesson. And some of you guys might be thinking, damn, Marquett, right now? Like, yeah, right now. And I want you all to remember, and I truly believe this and I practice this, is that there's no better time than now. Now is the best time, which is because you have to be able to do things when you feel motivated. Motivation is not always there. Motivation is feeling. Feelings are great. They're useful. And I want to use them when I can. I don't always have them. Like, for example, this morning, or excuse me, this afternoon, I had to exercise. And I didn't feel motivated. So when I do feel motivated, I got to go. I got to do it. I got to go. Got to go. Got to do it. Got to get it done. And there's nothing worse than someone interrupting your motivation. Oh, that's the worst. Goodness. And for the stoners out there, I think if you'd like to understand what I mean, it's like when you say, oh, you're killing my high. It's kind of like that. It's kind of like that. Anyways, shout out to the Ballers, second baller alert on this stream. Shout out to Kyle. He writes, I very much enjoyed combining both mental and physical challenges at the Burton Plantation. Deep thought and hard work in concert really take the prayers to the next level. Peace and saints. That's a fact. And shout out to Kyle. Kyle, very knowledgeable brother. And again, I always tell you guys, reading a lot of books is great. Being around people who read a lot of books is better. And Kyle's a very knowledgeable, capable man whom I learned a lot from. We get to share knowledge and share in goals and ambition and inspiration. Those are the kind of people you want around you. Hopefully, I believe Kyle and I will be able to do a joint presentation sometime soon, particularly on water systems and well systems, meaning like being able to draw up water from a well or from an aquifer at your home on your personal property. And the reason I want to do this is because when I ask myself, what are the things you should know as a man, as a leader, as a protector? There's some things that are fairly basic that I think is just a pity that we don't know. You know, there are many things in terms of maintenance at your home, changing air filters, things like that. Everyone should know. There are things like being able to keep chickens, keep cows, milk cows, basic things or garden, things that we all should know, some of which maybe for the ladies, but some for the men. And we should know. And so I figured, well, let's teach, let's learn. So we're going to talk about water because water is hugely important. In some places, it's really life or death. You may know in Israel and in Saudi Arabia, they have desalination plants and they don't have enough water. They have to freaking like take salt water from the oceans, from the seas and pull the salt out so that it's potable. You're fortunate enough that you live in places that have water under the ground, water all over the place, and you don't even know how to get to it. You have to rely on a municipal source, which is to say your government. You don't rely on yourself. You don't rely on your tribe. And so we're going to correct that. We're going to correct that. May I acknowledge, shout out to John Jackson writes, can't stay for the live. Had to pass the collection plate, my dude. Tabernacle, preach. I appreciate you. Shout out to John. He's been coming in recently too. Shout out to Juan. He writes, peace of the saints. We refer to the mind as if we were some kind of separate entity. And even I sometimes think it is. But in the end, isn't it just us at our deepest level? I don't think so. And if it is, like, maybe there's two minds. Shout out to Juan. He writes, peace of the saints. Yes, I agree. Talking to as many women as you possibly can when you're in your prime is the funnest thing you can do. Puts you in a lot of interesting situations. Oh, absolutely. It colors life for a man, right? This is for men. May I acknowledge Shia writes, I appreciate the knowledge. Peace of the saints. Shout out to Shia and shout out to all the saints who are on the drip trip. Oh, and shout out to the saints who will be on the drip trip this coming February. Drip Trip 2026 is going to be epic. Custom drip, custom shoes, trousers, jackets, sport coats, suits. It's going to be lovely. Real playerism. And it's our greatest bonding event. It's, you should be there if you can. A shout out to Mr. Chapman. He writes, in the short time since my last visit to the plantation, I have refined my processes and realigned them with my goals. That's a beautiful thing. Thank you for sharing good news. He writes, I can already tell that I've turned the page to an even brighter future for my family. Amen. Thank you again for the opportunity to unplug and recharge. Absolutely. My pleasure. And I invite all of you someday. Hopefully you get to come to an event. We do have Saints Weekend coming up. And I'm going to change things after Saints Weekend. So Saints Weekend, the way we've been operating at the Burton Plantation, at the end of Saints Weekend, there will be a new paradigm after that. So just a heads up on that. And I invite everyone, to come to the Burton Plantation, unplug and recharge. If you're a part of this thing of ours, that is. May I acknowledge Kay, just became a member. A shout out to Kay. Always good to see the Lady Saints. And while I see that you've just joined, I'm going to go ahead and connect you with the leader of the Lady Saints. Very honorable, honest, hardworking woman whom we are so thankful to have a part of this thing of ours. Because unlike, say, the people who call themselves Red Pill and all the other angry groups on the internet, the Saints, we really value the woman, and we understand that she is an important half of life and of joy and of family and of all the things that give our existence great meaning. Okay, fantastic. And again, may we all welcome the Lady Saint to this thing of ours. Fantastic. Got an email. Gentleman writes, I'm from South Africa. I would like to purchase your book, The Black Box. I notice it's not in stock on Amazon. Can you recommend other online stores where I can purchase it? That's quite peculiar. It absolutely should be in stock. Don't know why that's the case. Your good fortune is that you can get it on ebook. And so I'm going to grab that link. I'm just going to go to thesassin.com. I'm clicking products and I'm selecting the ebook. Oh, mind, you can get it on audio as well. You can get the audio book or the ebook. The ebook is the one that you read yourself. The audio book is the one that I narrate. It's, I think it's about damn near 8 hours. It took me 13 hours to record it, but it's about 8 hours runtime. And thank you for the support, and shout out to all the saints in Africa. I was actually just thinking about the saints in Africa earlier today, and I'd very much so like to see an Africa section, SAS in Africa, where we can have everyone organized, because there's so many saints throughout the continent. I just love to see them better organized. If anyone wants to step up and organize, be the executive of SAS in Africa and have regular meets and really get tapped in, we'd like to organize that. Do reach out. Anyways, I think we are all caught up because I have some studying to do. And remember, no matter how great a teacher you may be, you are always a student. The greatest of teachers are the best of students. Great soldiers, a great general was a great soldier, no doubt. Ladies and saints, let us end this with our tradition, the creed of the assassin. Repeat after me with full conviction, knowing this is true of you. The creed of the assassin. I am going to be who I truly am because I am remarkable, and I'm going to strive every moment to show the greatest part of who I am. Until next time, peace to the saints.